the Cybertruck definitely looks like it took some inspiration from the DeLorean. For a car that came out 40 years ago, it's still the most futuristic looking car there is. It looks like a spaceship.
Hey, so I know with Ready Player One and now with the release of Ready Player Two, your life's probably gone through a lot of change. Mine has too. There was this time before, in the early days of Roblox, it was Eric and me, like two of us, just working on this thing, and then Matt and John joined us, and that was very different for me. That was going in, writing code every day, quiet office. My life's completely different now, and now we have hundreds and hundreds of great people that all work together. How about you? Like, has your life changed?
My life has changed drastically. Since when I was writing Ready Player One, I was working a tech support job. I was interested in technology, but I always wanted to be a writer. But I also was interested in computers, and working tech support was a way to kind of work in a facet of what I was interested in. But it was a grueling job where I was on the phone, for 10 hours a day and helping people with their computers. And it wasn't a job that I enjoyed, but because I worked that job, a lot of elements of what I was learning about technology and helping people use computers, and also the job of being a tech support rep, that all worked its way into my novel, into Ready Player One. The way the main character works tech support in the Oasis for a while, and so that was something from my life that ended up informing the story. So even though I didn't enjoy that job at the time, and wished I was working somewhere else, now I'm grateful, that I had that job and that experience, because it worked its way into my story. It's like when I was a kid, we lived in a trailer park for a while, which was not fun. And my room was actually the tiny laundry room of the trailer, and it was just for a little while. But that was something that I put into Ready Player One. Wade sleeping in the laundry room of his trailer, and the stacks, and all of that came from this experience in my real life, and I saw it depicted in a Steven Spielberg movie. So that's something I always like to tell aspiring writers about. Is sometimes you're doing a job in your life, or you're living somewhere that you're not happy with, but later on that could help inspire you to write the story that could change your life. So you should kind of embrace those experiences, whatever is going on in your life, and try to put that into your work.
And I think there's a lot of optimism, in your books as well, around the power of imagination. And in effect, the metaverse is built on imagination. So I always take that as a very optimistic thing for all of us that are trying to create, whether it's music or 3D or imagery. Hey, and then riffing on Ready Player Two, so the number seven's kind of relevant, and of course we're not in spoiler zone here, but hey, is this random? Is there some significance to this?
Like the number 3 in Ready Player One, 3 is a magic number. Number 7 is a number that comes up a lot in pop culture and in video games. And kind of collecting 7 pieces of something is something that would come up in Dungeons and Dragons modules, and also in like Sonic the Hedgehog had 7 Chaos Emeralds that were red, yellow, blue, cyan, white, purple, and green. And once you collected all of them, that's what you had to do to, I think, defeat Dr. Eggman and win the challenge. But there are a lot of quests that involve the number 7, and some songs that involve the number 7. And so I saw that was a way to weave all those things into the story and have a kind of a connecting element between them. So it'll make sense what I'm talking about once people have to read the book. But yeah, the number 7 was a big influence.
So hey, with Ready Player One, I think a lot of people who'd never worn a VR headset got exposure to the tech and to your vision through the book and through the movie. And part of the fun, I imagine, of being a sci-fi writer is you're also a futurist in a way. I mean, that's part of the gig of being a sci-fi writer, which sounds really fun. And I think, in Ready Player Two, and I'm wondering for you, how's it feel when you see some things in real life come true, after you've written about them?
Well, it's gratifying, but I don't automatically assume that it was my book that helped inspire it, unless sometimes, like with the Oculus Rift, the people who worked on that told me in person that some things from Ready Player One had inspired them. But it's so much easier when you're a writer to just write. Wouldn't it be cool? Than it is to actually make it. It's like easy for me to design an amazing video game in a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as you know, it's much harder to actually make the real thing.
I think that could be a good thing though, right? Because us technologists, we can get locked in by how difficult it is to build stuff, where writers and futurists, you have the freedom of the written word, right? There's no limit to what you can imagine. And then the technologists more have to like figure out, can we really build it?
Right. And they're the only ones that can really build it. If it was just left up to the writers, all this stuff would remain fantasy. But that's something that I remember hearing about Star Trek, the old Star Trek series. They had those doors that would open automatically, and that's what inspired those doors in grocery stores. Like people at home saw that, and then real engineers went and made it work. So science fiction has always kind of played that role of what extrapolating where our technology might go. But yeah, that's one of the funnest parts of being a science fiction writer is imagining where the technology will lead us, and then how the technology, once it arrives, is going to affect people's day-to-day lives.
I love it because I think it's the best form of brainstorming is unencumbered brainstorming, without limit. And I think that's a little bit of what you do in your book. So nice job.
Thank you.
Almost like we're taking technology and then we go to pop culture at the same time, like in Ready Player One and now Ready Player Two, like you have this amazing intersection of pop culture with a vision of the future. And I think the reader or the movie viewer can almost get a little bit of a vibe of some of the things that have been important in your life. Can you riff a bit on some of the pop culture influences you've had?
They're endless. Anybody who read Ready Player One knows that my interest in pop culture is very broad. But for Ready Player Two, there are some specific facets of pop culture that I took inspiration from, like John Hughes films. Huge fan of John Hughes movies, especially the John Hughes movies that were set in high school. And he created his own fictional high school, Shermer High School. His high school movies took place like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Kids in Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. They all went to a version of Shermer High School. And I was always fascinated with high school being the setting for all these, dramas about young people's lives.
Yeah.
And especially The Breakfast Club is probably my favorite of all time. And I think 90%, 95% of that movie takes place in the school library, which ends up being like this social battlefield for the four kids as they get to know each other. And I always thought that was the library is a fascinating place to set a movie. And it might be the only movie that's completely set in a library.
Yeah, Breakfast Club, one of my favorites. I love the soundtrack as well to that movie.
Oh, so great. Yeah.
So good. Seems like the book was so fun to write. Are there any moments that you felt were super fun without giving away too much?
I don't think I can give away the super fun moments without giving away too much, but I will tell you it was, I had fun. I had fun the whole time I was writing it, because I knew, unlike with Ready Player One, when I wrote it, I wasn't sure if anyone was ever going to read it, outside of my friends and family. Whereas this, I knew there were a lot of people waiting and excited to read it, and that whatever I wrote,